Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be back with you. Now, I know that I'm supposed to have some sort of great and wonderful and majestic and really insightful video to show you, like, how to put together the best tactic for a brand new team that you know very little about. I don't really know the best way to do that either. I was planning at some point in time to go through a lot of what other people have written about the subject, but I didn't have time. And so it is. And so we're going to have some fun today, just sort of looking at the tactic and trying to figure everything out. A little bit of a recap of where we are. We are absolutely nowhere. So we are going to look into creating a tactic now. As you can see, being in American Samoa, nobody wants us to use like a tiki-taka or a gegenpress. Question is whether we want to do like a route one, which is sort of a direct type of game, whether we want to do wing play, or whether we want to park the bus. We're not going to do any parking of the bus, though we might try to do a couple of things to help us out on defense. I've talked about this before last time, and looking here at the squad, we do have quite a few midfielders on the left and right side, as well as attacking midfielders on the left and right side that might be sort of a benefit to us. We also took a quick look yesterday at the squad planner, but as you can see here, there's actually nothing that we can do in the squad planner before we have a tactic. Now, I do want to pause here for a moment and say that I'm really kind of frustrated with this on Sports Interactive's part, because those of us who really want to play without using star ratings and without using attributes could really use the help of the squad planner to figure out what we want to do. What's likely to happen here is I'll probably end up having to create a tactic first using some defaults that are put into the game, and then sort of mess around with that a little bit to try to get something that's a little bit more coherent and cohesive with the players that we have now. And the reason why I say that is because while it is certainly feasible that I could go through this squad and go through all 38 players one by one and try to figure out, like, I don't know, Afa Levao, is this guy like any good or not? I mean, he's a star player, right, who could improve, so we probably do want to have somebody like this in here. Without using any sort of star rating, though, I have no real way of figuring that out. I mean, I can go take a look here at this thing here at the beginning, which is sort of non-numerical indication of like his general abilities and stuff like that, but as you can see, that's not really going to show us very much of anything at all. I mean, it just really doesn't. He's only 15 years old, and he's our star player, and he's unambitious. But as we know from the BYU save, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. We're going to end up using a lot of players that maybe are not as ambitious as we would normally like. So what we're going to do, because I can't really go through all 38 players and create this huge matrix full of notes and try to figure this stuff out, it's going to take ages, and it kind of takes the fun out of the process. We're going to go for wing play here. I do like the idea of a balanced mentality, and we'll take a look and see what kind of formation it is they're going to give us. As you can see here, the recommendation is to have a left and a right attacking winger, and then having these four here at the back, a anchor on defense, and then two midfielders. I'm probably going to change this a little bit, and see it doesn't recommend any other formations. I'm probably going to change this a little bit to deal with sort of what I know already about this squad. So instead of having this person playing an anchor, we'll probably have a different type of setup for him. Yeah, so we can have a segundo volante, which we've loved from our saves before. We could probably have one come up here. We can have maybe a deep-lying playmaker there, and then some sort of attacking midfielder up here. I think would probably fit our club a little bit better. Have it just a little bit out of the ordinary. I know these two are playing at wing backs. I thought for a while about having three defenders here and having one on that side and one on the other side. But the problem that we have is we don't have any actual like wing backs on this team. We have one player who actually has that position. And so this is sort of the idea at the beginning. And then what we do, of course, is, and why are these guys, they're unregistered, okay? And what we do here is we hit selection advice, and we see what the coach and what the team sort of recommends us to do. And then we will go from that and make changes as we see fit. So I can see right now that we probably have a problem having Fetuao playing alongside Palipoa, right? Because they don't really get along. They play poorly together. And so we might want to look at some of these other central defenders and sort of see who might be better than whom. There are probably a number of these players who will likely never really hit the first team at all. As I was just looking at this guy at AFA, we're probably going to have him play in that attacking midfielder or attacking winger role on the left side instead of just not playing him at all, because he looks like he might be pretty good, and we want anybody who looks like they could conceivably be good to play on this team in a starting role. Now that we've done this, what we can do is we can go on over here now to the squad planner, and now this will show us something that's useful, right? And so we can see right away that this guy is surplus to requirements, right? We're not going to worry about selling players because this is a completely amateur club, so everybody can leave at any point in time. You'll notice that some of these guys actually do have contracts, which is interesting, but most of them are not going to have much. It will tell you here whether they are future prospect, regular starter, or important player. I think that we can, let's see here. No, we cannot. I was going to say, I think that we can play around with this up here a little bit, but apparently we cannot. Yeah, this doesn't tell me much. This is another thing that Sports Interactive should fix. It would be really nice if right here I could see something about like what the assistant manager thinks about the player's ability or about the player's potential or anything like that. Anyway, we'll play around with that as we go along. We do have 2 of these defensive midfielders. That's all. They're both coming up as fringe players. The first thing that we're going to want to look for likely is a different defensive midfielder. I don't know, again, if we're allowed to make any sort of moves or any sort of signings at all. So we'll sort of see what happens. And as we look around the squad, we do definitely have a number of players in a number of these positions. But there are other players that we're probably going to have to add on. So we'll play around with this a little bit and sort of figure out what the best approach is, and see who the best players are that we have on the squad. See, I can't even sort it. I see their ages over here on the in the media description tab. I'd love to have their age right here instead because it would be a little bit easier. But yeah, the way that we're going to do this and the plan that we're going to have is we're probably going to take the players who are of a lower age and have them play a few more matches. Now, these guys right here are probably going to go back onto the under-18 squad because I don't really see too much of a use for them. So that's what we're going to do here in the very beginning as we get all of this set up. Now, I do want to take another look really quick as I save this game. I want to take a look at the competitions and sort of remind myself of some of the rules. The important thing here will be understanding what the rules are as far as transfers are concerned. There is the first transfer window in the game is frozen, but that doesn't really mean too much when it comes to trying to create or trying to sign players on a free transfer. And because it's a completely amateur league, we can actually do whatever it is that we want. So we'll go over here again to overview and to rules. Looking forward for a squad registration, for example, we can have as many as 40 players in the squad. And we are currently near the end of the registration time. So we're going to have to hurry up and make sure that they're registered. And we're also part of the transfer window, but because they're all amateur, I think we can just sign players at any time that we like. We can see what happens. It's likely that we will end up losing some players in the process if any of our players turn out to be any good. And that's just sort of the way that this works. So that's basically how this setup is here in the beginning. I won't waste too much of your time going through this and going into detail. As I said, what I'm going to do likely from here on out is I'll go position by position. Now, I will show you as well that I have, let's see if I can get this open here. I have another sort of secret tactic that I use. I'll switch over here to my screen view, which will make me a little bit bigger. This is what it is. It's called LibreOffice Writer or any sort of word processor, right? So this is the way that we normally would do it. Once we have figured out like basically the setup that we want, then what I will do is I'll make like, okay, we have goalkeeper and then name. We have like central defender ×2 or something like that. I usually would say DC2 or something, and then write them down. We have, defensive left back and a right back, and so on and so forth. And then I'll just start writing down the names of the players in the squad and see who fits in and who doesn't fit in. And at this stage, because we're going to have some of these guys not really fit in much at all, because they're all amateur players, we'll just try to start training them on something new and kind of go for that. That's kind of what the approach is going to be here, as long as we are playing around with an amateur side. So we'll see what happens. It'll be a lot of fun. The squad is likely to change as we go along, but we'll see what happens. It might not change, though, depending upon exactly how it works with freezing the transfer window when everybody's an amateur player. we'll see what happens. I think that we look pretty good. Overall, I do think that we have some players to be excited about. And this is definitely going to be one of those saves where the fact that the player is inconsistent or has this problem or that problem is not going to be enough to deter us because, frankly, we don't have a whole lot of choice. Anyway, there you go. This is the way that I would set up the tactic. If the tactic's not going to work at all, you can let me know. And I'm just sort of messing around with this to see what we can figure out. We'll do a couple of other little things here to make it look a little bit more snazzy and so on. But for more or less, this is probably what we're going to be looking at. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.